Welcome to the Global View podcast. This episode will cover accessible and healthy food systems and legislation working to improve access to them. Globally, around 733 million individuals lack access to essential nutritional foods. With an exclusive interview with Nichelle Harriott from the Heal Food Alliance, this podcast will cover the work being done to improve this prevalent issue. So the first question I have for you is, can you please introduce yourself and feel free to include information about your background and role at Heal?
Sure. So I'm Nichelle Harriott, Policy Director at the Heal Food Alliance. Heal's mission is to transform the food and ag system into one that is just and equitable, that ensures all families have access to healthy and affordable nutrition, that people who grow, distribute, and even serve our food are treated fairly, and that the environment where we grow our food is protected. As policy director, I've been advocating for HEAL's priorities around climate justice and worker protections and against increasing corporate consolidation in ag at the federal level by doing a number of things. First, by educating and working with Congress to ensure that our food system is one that fairly serves everyone, and by also working with our members to ensure that their priorities are centered among the policy conversations that we have at the federal level.
Can you describe the Farm Bill and how the adoption of it would impact producers and local communities?
So, the Farm Bill is a huge piece of legislation that provides authority for not all, but most of the food and ag programs that farmers and consumers rely on. And these include everything from trade, crop insurance, nutrition access programs like SNAP, conservation, financial and technical assistance that provide farmers with the tools to be good stewards of the land, and a host of others. Local and regional food systems, including things like farmers markets, CSAs, and other local food hubs, are also governed under the Farm Bill. Additionally, the Farm Bill provides a lot of subsidies for farmers that allow them to, manage their costs while ensuring that their products find markets and keep food affordable. Congress, every 5 years, reauthorizes the Farm Bill. It goes through a really long process. And during that process, every Farm Bill program is either updated or changed or possibly left the same. The last Farm Bill was signed into law in 2018. So that means we are currently overdue for a new Farm Bill, and that's really because Congress has not been able to come to an agreement on the Farm Bill, and that usually falls along partisan lines.
How has the Real Food platform and your vision for it developed over the years?
So our Real Food platform was created by our members, and it lays out a long-term vision for the transformation of the food and farm system. It is essentially our North Star, and it provides the foundation for all our work, including our policy work. It's really grounded in the conviction that food system transformation is inseparable from the ongoing work to dismantle racism and the systems that hold profits as more valuable than people or of our planet. So Hilo and our members identified the pillars of the platform, and these include things like achieving dignity for food workers, fair and competitive markets, resilient regional economies, phasing out factory farming, among others, and these are all interrelated. So, for example, if we're thinking about securing living wages for farm workers, this necessitates securing fair prices for farmers, boosting community-based food initiatives as well. If we're thinking about phasing out factory farming, well, that goes hand in hand with how we think about how we treat the environment, how we grow our food, and how we support independent family farmers. So as we do all these, we are really laying the foundation for a fully transparent process that is accountable to the people, right? We understand that all this transformation that we want to achieve depends on people organizing together and building collective power. So here and our members, we will be continuing to work to, of course, tune into the political landscape, to uplift solutions that are relevant in the moment. But we're going to be staying consistent with our core values of prioritizing people and our planet and our commitment to dismantling white supremacy, corporate control, moving away from extractive and exploitative economies towards those that are truly regenerative.
What does the Good Food Communities campaign seek to accomplish in the next few years?
So, the recent COVID-19 pandemic showed us that our current food system is very fragile and that we need to rethink how we grow food, how we treat our workers, and even how local governments approach how we think about what our food system is. So the Good Food Communities campaign strives to redefine how we procure food through policy and organizing that ensures that workers are provided living wages and safe working conditions, and that through procurement, we treat small-scale producers with fair contracts, and institutions, when they are purchasing food, are not supporting bad actors who exploit workers and um, destroy the environment, but are really being more transparent and supportive of local economies. So over the next couple years, the campaign will be working in several states like Illinois and New York to pass statewide bills that uphold the principles of the Good Food Communities campaign. And then the campaign will be focusing on implementation, working with institutions to make sure that they meet their metrics, and organizing hopefully new campaigns in new states and new localities to pass legislation.
What are the largest obstacles your organization has faced in accomplishing your goals and mission?
Well, when it comes to transforming our food system into one that is equitable and sustainable for everyone, there are undoubtedly many challenges that resist moving from the established status quo, right? So, large agribusinesses who have for many years designed the food and ag rules to benefit them have no desire to change the current state of play. And Congress, has been slow, as they normally are, to pass progressive legislation against the interest of big ag, who, wield considerable influence on the Hill. This new federal landscape, where we have a Republican trifecta in Congress, will be working against our priorities around achieving equitable access, and climate justice. And we would need to perhaps take on a more defensive strategy to make sure that the progress that we have made over the years are not completely eroded.
So, in what ways does environmental justice intersect with racial and economic issues, and why is it important to address these topics in order to create a more equitable and sustainable food system?
Well, we cannot have a just and equitable food system without ensuring that everyone a part of that food system is treated fairly. That those who farm with deep care for the land and with traditional ecological knowledge are not pushed off the land by large corporate interests, and that urban and farming communities are not left to languish in a poisoned environment. BIPOC communities are often on the front lines when it comes to the devastating impact of climate chaos. In ag, these communities are often the last to receive federal support or relief. Many employers force food and farm workers to work under extreme conditions like extreme heat. And then we have we've seen like flooding in the southeast has left many Black farmers in particular underwater. both physically and financially. And on top of this, we have a federal government that has a documented history of discriminating against BIPOC growers and communities. And so systemic change is really needed to support and move away from how we currently do things. So that is why we are all for climate and environmental justice solutions that support women and BIPOC farmers, that protect farm workers from hazardous climate-related working conditions, and poor communities from industrial pollution. We are calling on the federal government to support equitable climate justice action by increasing incentive payments for climate resilient practices, to ensure that limited resource farmers can participate in federal programs to help support their operations and build resilience to climate change.
How can people get involved with HEAL or advocate for your vision in general?
So please visit our website and sign up for our newsletter. We send our critical action alerts there, and it really helps for people to take action on a lot of those. Follow us on social media, and see if HEAL has a member organization in your area, and try to get involved with their work. You can find our members on our website, and support local farmers and local farm economies as much as you can. If you want to get more involved in a very specific way, reach out to us. We can help you figure out how best to plug in, whether you're looking to support a local food advocacy organization in your area, or whether you would love to help HEAL advocate its vision for your community.
That was the last question I have prepared, but are there any other concluding statements that you want to make?
No, I don't think so. Um, One thing I would say is that given the current political climate, I really encourage all of your listeners to pay attention to what is happening, to understand that what is happening has really real impacts on our food economy, and that we definitely need to speak up and make our voices heard to make sure that, our way of life is not being dismantled by those who are currently in power.
Thank you for listening to the Global View podcast.